Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
On our Listener's Choice feature this morning, we are having a conversation about establishments that charge you extra for paying with a card. And just to explain Listener's Choice to some of you that may be listening to this feature for the first time, this is an opportunity for you as a listener to co-curate the content of the show with us. So if there is a topic you want us to talk about, maybe there's something that you didn't understand, or maybe a conversation we didn't sufficiently engage on, you can just send us an email on cm@702.co.za to suggest what you want us to talk about or what you want to understand better, and we'll bring in the relevant experts or guests to respond to whatever you want us to talk about. So today we are talking about paying with a card. Have you ever been told that you have to pay more for a product because you're using a bank card, or maybe you've been told that you can only pay card when purchasing items above a certain amount, or maybe you're told that you cannot pay using cash because the establishment is cashless? These are all new trends that have taken over the country's retail space. There are various companies that stipulate their payment preferences, and some of these preferences actually are an inconvenience to you as a consumer. So I want us to look at what the law actually says, even about retailers surcharging, like making people pay extra when using a card. And how can you as a customer push back on these stipulations at a pay point? So before we bring in Wendy Knowler, who's our consumer journalist, I want to read an email we received from a listener who asked us to discuss this topic on our Listener's Choice feature. And the email says, "Hi, this past weekend I slept in Mafikeng en route to Botswana, and I was shocked to find out that I had to pay 3% more for using a card for payment. I found that odd, hence I took the picture of a notice. I posted this on Facebook, and I was shocked by the revelations that it is actually happening, and it's become an acceptable culture, especially in the townships and rural communities where the watchdogs are not heard of. Please, can you guys look into this matter on your Listener's Choice feature so that we can get to the bottom of it and probably fix this economy?" See attached. So this is also attached some of the comments that have come through from people who were sharing that they experienced the same thing. And thanks to you, Anonymous, for sending us this email. Wendy Knowler joins us now on the line. Wendy, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Absolute pleasure. This is a question I get a lot myself, and it's in a word, it's wrong. It's illegal. In fact, there are two reasons why retailers are not allowed to do this. The first one is the Consumer Protection Act, which says that the retailer can't ask you to pay more than the advertised price for something. They can give you a discount for cash, but the advertised price, they can't go higher than that, or the price on the shelf, right? So if the room rate was 1,000 Rand a night, they could say, if you pay cash, you can have it for 950 or whatever. But they can't say, oh, you're going to pay with card, which is the normal way most people in that situation would pay. I would imagine they can't say, okay, now it's an extra 3%. It's usually around 5%. The ones that do it. The other reason that they can't do it is that it's a contravention of the merchant agreement with the bank. So whichever bank issued that point of sale machine, or if we're talking about in a retail situation, then they would have an agreement with that bank, be it Capitec, Absa, or whatever, which says they may not pass on their banking fees to the customer, which is essentially what they're doing. They're expecting the customer to pay their own banking fees that we must pay, right? If we've got a certain package with the bank, we pay a service fee, and then we don't pay a fee on every transaction, but we're still paying to bank. And the bank then also charges the merchant, right, per transaction, and the merchant's deciding, no, actually, I'm not going to see this as a cost of doing business. I'm going to pass it on to the consumer. So what to do will make a noise. But if it's become an accepted culture, then you're likely going to be told, take it or leave it, not so do what you want. So the effective way would be to see what bank's branding is on that point of sale machine, and notify the bank and make a noise. One thing I've learned in all my years of consumer journalism is don't make an ugly noise, don't make an abusive noise, but make a noise and make it repeatedly until you get the answers or the actions that you require. And as long as you're on the right side of the law.
Yeah, make a noise and email Wendy. So,
yeah, that too.
That as well. That's so fascinating. And I don't know about you, Wendy, but this is not something that I used to pay a lot of attention to. So when it's time to pay, many of us are so... You just take out your phone or you take out your card and you pay. You're not even looking at, the amount that you're paying there and whether or not that's the one, or if there's like a percentage that's been added there. So you spoke about recourse now, making a noise. Can a consumer though in that establishment say, I refuse to pay? Or is the best thing to make the payment and then go make noise?
Well, it's a tricky one. You think about it practically, standing in the store, say, or standing at a front reception of a B&B or whatever.
Yeah.
Saying I refuse to pay. Practically, I mean, you're not refusing to pay at all. You're refusing to pay the extra.
The extra, yeah.
Yeah. But they're in control of that whole transaction, right? So they are going to most likely, they might, if they've received enough pushback, they might say, well, okay, and adjust it. But you're normally dealing with someone who's not a decision maker, right? So then where's the manager? Are they available? I think my suggestion would be to pay it under, make your disagreement or your discontent with the practice, which is illegal, known, and then follow up. So write to the establishment, report them to the bank, phone into a radio station, email me. I think the problem, Clement, is until and unless enough consumers are bothered enough about this, and they actually even know that it's not supposed to be happening, there will be no change. You know how it works. There needs to be enough noise.
Yeah.
And when I say noise, and I mean respectful noise, I don't mean, you becoming part of the problem by acting in ways that aren't acceptable socially or legally or all the rest. I mean abuse and all that kind of thing. I don't condone that, because generally your behavior then becomes the focal point, and your legitimate gripe then falls by the wayside.
Yeah, that's not going to
pay
save
and argue later.
Yeah, pay and argue later. Okay, what about establishments that have like policies or even brand themselves as cashless? Okay. I'm trying to figure out within what framework would they be doing this, because sometimes consumers say, oh, this is such an inconvenience for me. I actually just want to pay in cash. And I know sometimes there are legitimate reasons about, crime, people come in, steal from us. But what recourse is there for us as consumers? Do we have even any, especially when establishments are clear that this is our policy?
Yeah, like the Woolies Cafe, that caused a huge stink. Remember that. It is such an interesting issue, Clement. So it started I started getting questions about this, sort of like game reserves, that kind of thing, would have an entrance point like near the main road, and then you still got to drive 3 kilometers to get in, and the security guy and the guy taking your money is quite remote and quite vulnerable. And that's how they justify it. And you could sort of understand that they say, we tell you in advance, we only take a card payment, no cash, and this is the reason why we're protecting ourselves. And you can kind of understand it, right? So that's the ones I started getting. And then COVID happened. And then the no cash thing began. Well, it was all debunked later, because you don't get the virus from touching, you get it from breathing. But it's airborne, doesn't land on stuff and then you catch it that way. But in the early days, no one knew that. They thought, we can't touch money. And suddenly everything, drive into a parking garage, you don't have to touch anything. Remember, now you just hold your hand there. And so the we don't take cash thing started to get a lot of traction. So to cut to the chase, I have raised this several times over the years with the Reserve Bank. The head of communications, Thraya Pandey, told me in 2020 and since that, in a nutshell, while the Reserve Bank has not, well, I haven't checked in the last maybe 9 months, but I'm sure I would have known if it had happened. There is no directive about service providers having the right to refuse to accept cash as payment, right? They haven't done that. But the Reserve Bank said to me, there's no sanction for those who do refuse to accept cash. So nothing's going to happen to them, in other words, so they can do it. It's a weird sort of grey legal area, but I think what's most important is the practical application of these things. What's the lived experience? So the lived experience is you can make a noise about your right to pay with cash, but it's not really going to take you anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is interesting in this country. Sorry, Clement, just to jump in, because we are such a diverse. It's easy when you drive around Sandton and Mhlanga, whatever, to think, well, the world's going cashless. What's your problem? But the reality is, in the context of the whole of South Africa, we still have a very, very high proportion of people for whom paying in cash is the norm. So that's what makes this topic a really interesting one in the context of South Africa. But then you could say, well, for those communities, it would be mad for retailers and other merchants to say we're not accepting your cash, because there wouldn't be a transaction.
True. Okay, I want to go to some WhatsApp voice notes now that have come through on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Wendy and Clement. But also I want to say, you said they can't charge above the advertised price. But in some of these informal shops, bazaar shops, sometimes the price isn't advertised. Sometimes you have to ask how much is this or whatever, and then they kind of say how much or whatever it is. So sometimes it's not advertised. So should they be advertising these prices clearly in their shops?
Yeah, Wendy?
That's another brilliant one. Thank you so much to that listener for the question. It's precisely for this kind of reason that the Consumer Protection Act, which, let's just remind ourselves, has been in effect since the 1st of April 2011. So what's that? We're going on for 14 years. 14 years retailers have had the opportunity to get their ducks in a row. The CPA says that retailers, except in the situations like street sellers and that kind of thing, like really, really informal. But if you're in a store, even in some kind of, there's a roof and there's there's some kind of formality there, you absolutely have to display the prices. A consumer should never be in a situation, whether you're sitting in a restaurant and they come with the specials, they need to say, and that'll be 120 rand for the steak or whatever the case may be. You should never be in a situation where you don't know. You have to go and ask for the price. And this happens in spaza shops, and it happens in these fancy little cafes where there's like a little deli at the side and there are no prices, and then you have to go. And there's that sort of awkward thing as well. If you have to ask, you can't afford it kind of nonsense. So the prices have to be there. I've taken on loads and loads of retailers who think that they've got the choice, or maybe think that price tags make their shelves look ugly or whatever, or that it's like, a bit lower grade to, I don't know. The prices have to be there. And it then removes the element of illegality, because you can just look at your customer and decide what they can afford, or, any kind of discrimination around that. There is the price, and I might offer you a cash discount, but I'm not going to, there cannot be, okay, you pay the card, we're going to add on, or you can't be adding VAT on either. That's the other thing. That's a different law. That's the VAT Act. You can't, the price you see is the price you pay, means the retailer, and it's very topical today, Clement, VAT, right?
Yes.
You can't be adding it afterwards. You can't say it's 25 rand and then suddenly at the shelf and you get to the till. And this applies online as well. And you get to check out and it's like, oh no, we're going to add VAT now. It's not okay.
No, it doesn't work that way. Here's another one.
Hi, Clement. Now we are staying at Kasi. This thing of them charging you when you are paying with the card, I think it's become normal. Although I always complain with, why are you charging me? Because still the bank is gonna charge me. You understand? But they will tell you, you take it or you leave it. It's Mike here from Tembisa.
Good morning, Clement. and Wendy. That's a very interesting topic. I also realized that in rural areas and even in townships, when you withdraw 100 rand, they will charge you a 10 rand extra. So, yeah, so if you want 500 rand, you'll pay 550, you pay 10 rand extra. So I've always been asking myself, what is this all about? Can Wendy maybe touch base on that? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, this is something, Wendy. I don't know if it's happening also in the urban areas, but I know it happens a lot in the townships, especially if you just want to withdraw money. And I don't know what the legislation say, but you go to a spaza shop or a retailer and you say, I need about 500 rand. And they say, okay, we have 500 rand, or you come, you pay for it on a card as if you're buying something from the store, but you they add like extra 20 rand and then they give you 500 rand like cash. Is that something you've observed, and what does the law say about that?
Yeah, okay, so that would be a kind of less formal but still part of under legislation situation as if you go and buy your bread and milk from Checkers and then you say, I also want 100 rand. There is a service fee there. It's very, very low. In fact, the banks try to encourage, especially Capitec, you always see these long queues at Capitec, and I think, why are they doing that? Because they're paying a very high withdrawal fee. If they just go and get from Checkers and Pick and Pay, it'll be much lower. Like, I don't know, it's a while since I've compared these figures. Like maybe a year or 18 months. So I don't want to say what the figures are, but it's dramatically lower to do it that way. And there are reasons why people don't. So this is would be a version of that. But it's still still coming from a bank, right? And the bank would set the fee. So this is what my reading of the question is that the spaza shop is now adding their cut as well, which would not be okay. The bank would take a very dim view of that. I would love to get an actual case with a location, the vendor or the merchant named, and like I don't know, do they even give receipts when that kind of thing happens? They should, but it sounds like we know this. It's everyone like fast and loose. We just make it up and we tell our customers take it or leave it, whatever. As Mark of Tembiso, and can I just say what a gorgeous voice he has? I was mesmerized. As Mark of Tembiso confirmed what I was saying, it's like, you can make a scene and you can stamp your feet and you can say this is not right.
Yeah.
But they just like shrug, and normally the person you're talking to is not on the pay grade to even have the conversation with. They're just following instructions.
Yeah. Here's another voice note.
Clement, we need regulations into these specialist spaza shops. Do you know that when you need 400 as a cashback in spaza shops, they will charge you 40 rand, 10 rand per 100 rand. So we really need regulations. Also, when you purchase electricity, each and every 10 rand that you buy, they add 2 rand more there. With just all these hikes by ASCOM, the spaza shops are not regulated, and no one wants to pay attention on these. I mean the small spaza shops. The government doesn't want to pay attention to them. And some of them, they're not even paying for electricity, but they are adding 2 rand in each and every 10 rand. So this thing is not only in restaurant, but it's happening even in rural areas. Thank you, it's Fiso. Retrospect.
Thank you, Fiso. Here's another, I'll give you a chance now, Wendy, to come in. Here's another voice note.
Good day, Clements. I think a lot of government departments, for example, a licensing office, are moving away from cash due to the fact that they get robbed so often. And then a person also has to say to yourself, why would a person want to carry so much cash? We do understand that we can't go to a cashless society.
Yeah. Wendy?
Yes, I agree totally with what the listener shared there, but we don't all, especially in this country, we're so diverse, we have so many different realities and ways of transacting and incomes and where we live, and so our reality isn't the next person's, and we all have our reasons for transacting the way we do, and often that is exploited. And so I'm trying to remember what his the buying electricity as well.
Yeah.
I would need to check with the providers on what, but I'm pretty sure there would be limits as well on on how much. I mean, they're providing a service, and anyone providing a service in the chain is entitled to add a bit, but it should be capped. So I know with the banks it definitely is, but with electricity I would need to research that. But it comes down to the poorest. In the poorest communities, people get ripped off the most. That's the unfortunate reality, and it's something that's bothered me deeply for many, many years now. It's very much living in a take it or leave it kind of situation, which is always going to get exploited.
Yeah, I've got some calls that I want to take quickly before we wrap up. Let's start with you, Kagiso, in Pretoria. I understand you have a shop, Kagiso, and do you charge a surcharge? Good morning.
Yes. How are you?
Sure. Go ahead.
Good. Yes, I run a small little shop, and I have a set fee of 10 Rand every time you want to withdraw a certain amount from my store. And it's one of those where, look, if I go to an ATM and I want to withdraw, let's say 2,000 Rand, the last time I withdrew 2,000 Rand from an ATM, I got charged about 25 Rand for the withdrawal fee. So then if they're here and somebody wants something, I'll say, look, it's going to be $10 because yes, you're helping me, let's say, deposit money into the bank, let's say through the POS, so I don't have to carry as much hard cash because you're withdrawing from my tiki, let's say. But at the same time, it's the convenience of that. It's the convenience. They don't have to walk 500 meters or a kilometer to an ATM to withdraw that money.
Oh, so it's more of a convenience fee, or maybe.
Okay.
Sorry.
So yeah. It's not going through it's still going through your till. Just trying to think. So there's no bank involved. It's just a straight transaction between you and the customer.
Yes. So it's almost like it's a purchase. So it's almost like he's purchasing something for 100 Rand, but then because there's no goods exchanged, then I'm gonna charge him an extra 10 Rand. So if he wants $100, I'll charge him 110. And then I'll give them $100. But then it's for the convenience, because especially in the neighborhoods, especially in the townships, an ATM is so far away. And then if you need money right now, then the only place you're going to access it is where the store is, where they do have money and they have a point of sale system.
Okay. Sorry, my brain is sort of on a stall there. It is going to the bank because they're giving you a card, right?
Yeah.
They're giving you their bank card, be it Capitec or Absa or FNB. Is that right?
So you pay like you would pay with your card as if you're buying, let's say, bread, or you're buying whatever that costs 100 Rand, except there's no goods exchanged.
I understand. So it's the same thing that happens in the supermarkets, the big supermarkets, and all those. The bank set those fees. So what I need to do is go to the banks and say, what happens with the smaller retailers? Surely do we have the merchant still on the line with us?
Yeah, we do.
So surely the bank gives you guidelines on what those fees what fee you can take.
Does it give you guidelines, Kagiso? Because I don't.
No, there are no guidelines.
Yeah, because there's yeah.
There are no guidelines. So it's almost. I'd rather call it like hood politics.
Yeah,
they understand that. Look, but then it's ridiculous if you're charging 10 Rand per every 100. But then if you're saying, look, it's 10 Rand for any amount that you want, then it's a fair deal, because then the ATM would charge you a whole lot more. But then it's also the convenience of you don't have to walk 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
To go
I got it.
Is it fair to say, Kagiso, is it fair to say that it's not really permitted? Which is why we don't know about even like what does the bank.
It falls into like a gray area. Because, it falls into a gray area.
It's like a favor we do in the township or in whatever community between the businessmen and people there. Yeah.
I would say the concept is not illegal, because why should a checkers be able to take? I don't know if they do take a cut. I need to investigate this. The fee goes to the bank. I think the retailers do it because they get foot traffic, right? But that's their payoff. So I need to investigate this, Clement. Maybe I can come back.
It's fascinating, please, Wendy.
And talk about it. But there will definitely be rules, and I would like to know what the limits are. But I would say certainly those that are charging less than ATM are certainly not on the wrong side of the ethical debate.
Yeah. So quickly from Thabo in Pretoria. Thabo, you are also a shop owner, yeah? How do you deal with this?
Yes. Clement, hi, how are you?
Sure. Go ahead, brother, quickly.
Good. I want to say the same sentiments as the previous caller. Basically, I'm an owner of a shop in Pretoria as well. The thing is, we've got notices all around our shop just to say that, guys, we do not accept cash. But you know our customers, they always bring cash. And you can't turn money away. What I do is I charge them 10 Rand extra. Because remember, I go to the bank. Mandy, I don't know what you're suggesting on that.
Wait, so if someone pays in cash and you said this is a cashless principle or policy, then because it's going to cost you more to take that money to the bank, you charge them 10 Rand extra.
10 Rand extra, yes.
Okay, yeah. Wendy?
No, I would say you either accept cash or not. If you accept cash, you can't charge them extra. The same with cards. I take a card payment, I can't charge you extra. So you have to decide either way. You just take it as a cost of doing business in South Africa, in the community that you serve. You can't be charging them extra for taking their cash.
Yeah. Wendy Knowler, thank you so much for making time for us. She's a consumer journalist. And when you're done investigating this exchange of cash, favor, hood politics, as the listener said earlier on, please come back to us, Wendy, to share it with us. It's 11:32.